2023 was I would say a scale and stabilization period. Merlin is predominantly used for invoice processing. We yet do not have a vendor portal which we plan to introduce this year. Our OCR efficiency surprisingly has reached to almost 95%, between 92 to 95% is what we are operating at. We try to expand this year from a tech perspective into three broad areas. We want to do a full-fledged SAP implementation, SAP integration with Zycus. Heard about ISIS? We are on that. We use Zycus middleware at this point of our time for our vendor data integration with SAP, but we're going to expand that. With that, we are going to implement vendor portal catalog-based buying, and eventually later this year, we're going to go into contract management also.
Thanks, Merlin.
Some of the reasons or drivers for us to choose the technology and especially Zycus, invoice processing was entirely manual. Imagine roughly around 12,000 invoices at that particular time. Today it is 18,000. Every invoice was processed manually. We had a little bit of a process problems from an adherence perspective of good receipts, which leads to query management. Roughly around 65% of our invoices were going into queries. This is all was happening manually. And there is where we wanted a tool. And we wanted a tool not to solve today's problem, we wanted a tool to solve tomorrow's problem. The idea was very simple: have something for AP and then scale it up for upstream processes slowly and gradually. We started with 4 products: Procure-to-Pay, supplier, repository request management, and insights. The 4th one is not out there because it's a tech product, ISIS. Usually we miss that. We had roughly around 15,000 invoices per month, roughly around 1.2 queries per month. We had a manpower of roughly around 50 odd people processing these invoices. Phase 1, we implemented the core system in a pretty much manual way, which replaced the earlier system, which was even more manual, trapeze, and then slowly and gradually we moved into the rest of the phases. Roughly around end of 2023, start of 2024, our OCR improved. Now we are roughly around 92 to 95%. What it helped us with, today we have a streamline process. We can guarantee our supplier about his payment date as soon as we receive the invoice within 24 hours. Once the indexing happens, we have a pretty much idea how fast we can pay them. If the queries are not there, typically we are ready for the payment within 3 to 4 days. If the queries are there, it probably takes a little bit of a time to resolve, but roughly around 80% we know within 24 hours of receiving the invoice. We are able to do almost 60% panel of our reduction, which has released the net FTEs from the processing center. Visibility has improved. We have a segment which we call MSME. These are small enterprises. There's another government ruling that we have to pay them in X days because government supports them. This is very sensitive area. This goes from a reporting perspective after the board. So all these implementation has helped us improve our visibility into the system, that how fast we are able to pay to our vendors, and the process insights start helping us to look for the further Five specific areas is what we want to go in for the next phases. We do the SAP integration today. Because the integration is not there or it is partial on each of the vendors. When we do our PO and GRN and SRN integrations, in a way to our agents, we will be able to give them a pseudo two-way, three-way match them, right? Today, if I look at the agent, he looks into Zycus, invoice, SAP, purchase order, then take a decision manually whether he is good to pay or not good to pay. Now that information comes into one screen in Zycus, and then you can take a decision of making a payment, but it is a manual decision in the phase one. Phase two, what we're trying to do is we're trying to automate the payment. What will happen in this case? Once the decision is, information is available in Zycus, Zycus will make a decision of sending the data back to SAP for the micro processing. That means you have a PO, against that you have good receipt, and against that you have invoice. All the three things matches. This invoice in the case of India is verified against the government portal. That means I'm good to pay. Right? That information flows to SAP, and SAP will be ready to pay as per the contract terms. Now, what we want to do here is, as soon as I'm ready to pay, I'm going to go back to the supplier. And in fact, this idea came to me in the morning we were talking about all this Gen AI things. We were thinking of doing it manually. The idea here is, say it is day 2 of the invoice, and we are ready to pay, and I'm supposed to pay in 45 days. We're in mind, we're a commodity maker. Right? The gauge is cash. And if on the third day I'm able to tell the supplier, hey, I'm good to pay you. Do you want your payment day after tomorrow? And if yes, would you give me 0.5% discount? Right? Gen AI gets all we talk about, right? It can automatically reach out rather than we writing the mail or we building yet another portal for them or a method for them. So that is something which we look for with the practitioner. So that's a plan 2. Plan 3 is vendor portal. Vendor portal is predominantly we're looking roughly around 40%, 20% or 40% who are poly players. Because we have a long tail. But the idea here is to reduce the dependency on OCR. The Gen AI, we expect OCR will improve, but it's still you deal with so many formats, right? So getting them to the vendor portal of PO Flip will be a better and easier solution. Eventually, we want to go to PRPO catalog by what we have learned from our journey has been bottom up, not top down, right? So we are doing the invoice processing first. What we have learned is a lot of upstream wrong processes impact the bottom process. The non-guided buying, the last you want to go on that management. The idea here is because we deal in commodities, our contracts are very specific, and we deal with food commodities, right? So our contracts are very specific. So idea is, can we automate this entire process for our sourcing and legal teams? Thus, the cycle time can be reduced. Already our cycle time is anything from 30 days to 60 days to end to end. By that time, your commodity price is cheap, right? So, okay, we do things around that. That's what the idea is. Yeah, on the while I have noted a lot of ideas we're talking about Gen AI today morning. Few things which we are looking for is to OCR accuracy. Can we take it from 90 to 95 to 97, 98% using Gen AI? In fact, we're doing a pilot right now. It is enabled for us on our development environment. Once the pilot is successful, we will take it to our production pretty soon. Can we do a purchase order overview? This is a fascinating proof of concept we have seen in Zycus, wherein a purchase order overview is presented to your buyer or your person who's processing their invoice. Just imagine we have, because GSTs we have different taxation slabs. We have 5%, we have 12%, we have 18%, we have 28%, right? Just imagine you're processing an invoice where the purchase order carry 5% taxation, but the invoice should have been 18%, or the PU should have been 18%, right? So there is a discrepancy. But can your purchase order fetch that information and give you a summary rather than you are going and raising it? Right. Something like that is what we have seen. We want to explore more, and it's a feature like this. they are building as possible. And also, once we implement the last thing, we do a contractual systems across our basis. I was hearing some estimates today that how deeply people are doing from a high risk perspective.